Namaskara. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us at Swadharma Talk. This is part 1 of 6. And to begin with, a very happy new year to everyone. My name is Rotarian Sandeep Puri, and I'm not the speaker of the show today, but I'm here to just tell you about the fact that we're having this program on a different platform. You've all joined us here live on Facebook and on LinkedIn for today. And in case you have any difficulties, there is already a WhatsApp group, which I guess you're already a part of if you've registered. If you have any questions, you can please ping that number. Uh, Please let us know if you have any questions during the middle of the show. Also, you can leave them in the comments below, and we will take them up as soon as the moderator comes on. So, our today's topic, this is part 1 of 6. It's Dharma and Swadharma. And before I move forward, here is Rotarian Lakshmi to take you further. Good morning, Lakshmi.
Rotarian Varalakshmi Balaji, and I would be the host of this program, Bhagavad Gita, A Way of Life. At the outset, I welcome all of you, the Rotary fraternity, our friends and well-wishers, and everyone who has signed up for this program. A short intro about Rotarian Ram Kumar Seshu before I talk about the program. Ram is the author of Born to Win Process, which is based on decades of learnings from the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita. The program has impacted over 1 lakh of entrepreneurs and corporate executives. His philosophy of I can, you can, and we can, based on the principle of Aham Brahmasmi, has been successfully implemented for over 4 decades. His signature program is Enough is Enough. Dimag ki batti jalao, take charge of your life. He is now on a mission to empower and create 1 million empowered entrepreneurs by aligning their Ichcha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and Manas Shakti. Now, today's topic is Dharma and Swadharma. Create a process for a balanced life in a VUCA world. VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Yes, we all face this. When someone asks about the Bhagavad Gita, we all know just one thing, we remember one thing: perform actions without expecting any results in simple language. Action. And that's where the real question starts, isn't it? What action? The actions that we do when we are in a dilemma at the crossroads, when the result of our action is going to impact us, and that's when we are confused. Every option would seem to be right here. Every action would have a justification. And this is where we need a clarity as to which action do I take. And here comes Swadharma, where the origin of why you have to do a particular action comes in. Here we have Rotarian Ramkumar Seshu, who's here to delve into this, give more clarity so that our introspection becomes more relevant and the actions more appropriate. Over to you, Rotarian Ramkumar Seshu, to give us clarity on this particular topic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lakshmi and Sandeep, for doing this. First of all, I'd like to begin by thanking you both and Sharada for putting this whole program together. To all my Sahayogis who are seeing this program, a warm welcome. A very happy new year. And let me begin with a prayer to Krishna to guide all of us and to take care of us. My tryst with the Bhagavad Gita began many, many years ago when I was in Mumbai. And I reconnected with the Bhagavad Gita when I was in Mumbai, because I was personally going through a very challenging time at that point of time in my career. And my father, who's my guru, he was the one who, kind of rekindled my interest in the Gita and said, why don't you start reading it again? Now, the beauty of the Gita is that, you can pick it up at any point of time, open any page that you feel like, take any interpretation that you want. There are so many beautiful interpretations over the years that I've had the privilege of reading. And you will instantly find the answers to the questions that you have in your mind at that point of time. Let me explain to you a little about the format that we're going to follow in the in this program. All of us are used to Zoom, and this is a technology that, thanks to Sandeep Ori, we're trying out the StreamYard, and you would possibly be seeing it on Sandeep's LinkedIn account or the Born to Win Facebook page. This is something new that we're trying for the first time, and I'm hoping that, like all things that we've had to adapt to in the last 2 years of our lives, this is again another format that we're trying to get into in a different way. But yes, as Sandeep mentioned, there is all of you who have registered, there is a WhatsApp group. In case there are any challenges that you have, please reach out. Sharada is there, and she will be prepared to help you, assist you in watching. And the beauty of this particular platform is that this broadcast will be available even after we finish the program, unlike Zoom. So you can watch it, you can share it with whoever you feel like, you can watch it whenever you want. I know my dear friend Vivek and Shalini, they've logged in from the US. It must be pretty late at night there, Vivek, but thank you for being here. Well, let me, when Lakshmi was talking to me and said, can we curate this whole program about how can we, in this VUCA world that we find ourselves in, what is it that we can do with the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita? And is it possible for us to do an interpretation on how we can use those learnings and figure a way out and to get a roadmap in today's context? And this is what I'd like to take you through all in the next 6 days. So every day there is a different subject. We've got one on, we've got one today, which we're talking about Dharma and Swadharma. Tomorrow we're talking about how do we overcome our conditioning issues. Then we're talking about the power of I can, and so on and so forth. So first, let's get into this whole VUCA world itself. As Lakshmi explained, it's an American concept, really, at the end of the Cold War. This is something that came up to define the kind of world that we are in, because one word was not defining the world that we were getting into. So the world was very volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. This is the kind of world that we are in. Ever since this pandemic hit us, I think this world has gone, virtual. The uncertainty has just gone up by a few notches. I think mental health has become a serious, serious challenge right now, and it's become far more complex than we had. So, and the ambiguity, the uncertainty, the ambiguity is really, really making huge challenges on every one of us. In this context, is there a beacon of hope that the Gita can give us? And I believe it does. The same VUCA definition, thanks to the Bhagavad Gita, can be changed. Volatility can become vibrancy, okay, because that is something that we need a fair amount right now. Uncertainty can get into an understanding of your own self. And this opportunity to reboot our lives is a phenomenal opportunity, primarily because it's not just restarting our life after the pandemic, but it is rebooting our entire life that we've got this opportunity. So we need to get a certain amount of vibrancy in what we are doing. We need to get in a certain amount of understanding of our own self. And in this journey within ourselves, the complexity can be changed into a lot of clarity. And the ambiguity that we find ourselves in can be replaced by a lot of agility. So the same problem that we have, the same situation that we have, is something that we can actually make it into something which is vibrant, a lot of understanding, a lot of clarity and agility. And obviously this entire journey starts with me, it starts with you, it starts with us. And how do we use the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita to actually get there? So let me begin at the beginning. We said the topic is Dharma and Swadharma. So first of all, this whole concept of Dharma is, I think we need to put it into some kind of a context. Dharma is as old, it as a concept, it is extremely, extremely used. It's an old concept. But this concept has been adapted to suit the needs of the times that we find ourselves in. So there are very, very many different interpretations that we find for dharma. And especially when you have translations of the word dharma, they get very layered. And sometimes these concepts, create a lot of new dimensions in our life. Okay. The interpretations also of dharma, for instance, the Buddhist interpretation or the Jain interpretation or the Sikh interpretation or even the Zoroastrian interpretation of dharma are kind of different from what we talk about in Sanatan Dharma. But each of them was relevant to that point of time. So today, if you look at Hinduism, if you look at Sanatan Dharma, for instance, it is part of the Purusharthas. Okay, it's a very vital element of that. The Purusharthas, as you're aware, starts with Dharma and then Artha and Kama and Moksha. Now, you have to have Artha, which is commerce. You need to earn a living. You need to have some amount of desires to provide for your family, which is Kama. And the ultimate goal, which is Moksha, to get, that kind of independence of being who you are. But Dharma is the base on which all the other three get anchored: the Artha, the Kama, and the Moksha. And therefore, from our perspective, Dharma becomes a very, very important ingredient. It becomes the foundation stone for all that we need to do. So we need to figure out what is this whole issue of Dharma and how it gives solidity to the entire other three, the Artha, the Kama, and the Moksha, that is part of our life. We can't, we are human beings who are living in this world. And there is nothing that we can't, close our eyes and say, let's go back into the, dark ages. That is not going to be possible. So each of these interpretations, so Dharma takes many, many different meanings, all of them relevant at that point of time. So for instance, you can have somebody saying Dharma is duty, somebody saying Dharma is rights, somebody saying Dharma is character, somebody saying Dharma is your vocation, somebody saying Dharma is your customs, is your uprightness, is being morally correct behavior, and even Dharma can be religion in some contexts. All of this, ladies and gentlemen, are very, very interesting concepts, but I want you to appreciate and understand one fact, that when we are talking about Dharma, okay, we need to figure out how is it relevant in today's context and today's day and age. Lakshmi, I'd like you to help me with the first shloka that we'd like to share with you, and I'll request Lakshmi to please read it for us, share it with us. The first two, chapter 4, verse 7 and verse 8, Lakshmi. Lakshmi, or I think you need to unmute, Lakshmi.
Right.
Yeah.
Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srujamyaham.
The English interpretation, Lakshmi. If you can just read that for us.
Yes, sure. So, wherever there is a decline in righteousness and an increase in unrighteousness, O Arjuna, at that time I manifest myself on earth. हे भरतवंशी अर्जुन, जब जब धर्म की हानि और अधर्म की वृद्धि होती है, तब तब मैं अवतार लेता हूँ.
And the next one also, Lakshmi, if you don't mind. The co-verse with this, that is verse number 8.
Yes, chapter 4, verse 8. परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे. To protect the righteous, to annihilate the wicked, and to re-establish the principles of dharma, I appear on this earth age after age. साधकों के संताप को हटाने, दुष्करों का नाश करने और धर्म को स्थापित करने के लिए मैं समय समय पर अवतरित होता रहता हूँ. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lakshmi. Look at these two beautiful verses, and the message that they're giving us. And first of all, I'd like to acknowledge two friends of mine, Anurag Mehra from Surat and Srini Saraswatula from Bombay, who put this entire presentation together for us. Thank you very much, guys. A huge shout out to both of you. So look at what Krishna is trying to tell us. Okay, and if we can interpret this from today's context, dharma is about doing the right things righteously. Okay, let me repeat. Dharma is doing the right things righteously. So there are obviously four aspects in this. The first is the doing part. Okay, that we have to remember that doing things, taking action is part of our dharma. We can't escape from the fact that we need to do whatever has to be done. Whatever is the action that each of us is supposed to do, we need to be doing it. If you're a teacher, then we need to teach. If you're an industrialist, then you need to produce those goods and services. If you're a businessman and you're a trader, so whatever it is that you're doing in life, you can't escape from doing that. That's the first part. The second thing is doing it right. And here is where the important part comes in. When you need to do things in a right way, that means that whatever you're doing comes from your heart. And we will spend a lot of time on this tomorrow, on why we need to listen to the heart more than what we listen to as far as our mind is concerned. The next thing is doing the right things. Okay. Now, what would these be? What is it that you would need to do that will help us in life? Okay. How are you going to make yourself happy? That's something which is very, very important. And the last point, righteously, which means without harming somebody else. So, doing the right things righteously. The fact that we need to take action is a given. None of us can escape from the fact that we need to act. We need to do what we are supposed to be doing. But what is it that we need to do? We need to do the right things, which means it has to come from your heart. And that will take us to doing all those things that will make you happy, those actions that will make you happy, and then in a righteous manner, which means there is no way that whatever you do should make somebody else unhappy in life. And therefore, we come to my definition of Swadharma, which is applicable now in this VUCA world. If we want a world to become vibrant, if we want it to become a world of understanding, if you want to have clarity for your own self, and if you want to be agile, because remember, we're people who are doing the right things in a righteous manner, and we therefore need that agility because we need to grow. You can't be where you are. So whatever it is that we're doing, whether we're running a business, whether we're running an NGO, whether we're part of Rotary, whether we're part of 41ers, Roundtable, Ladies, it doesn't really matter where we are. We still need to do a whole host of stuff. So our definition of Swadharma can become something very interesting, that you do the actions by listening to the dictates of your heart and engage in those activities that make you happy without making anybody else unhappy. And this is the definition of Swadharma that I'd like to propose to all of us today, that doing those things that come from our heart, whatever is close to your heart. Okay. Now, you could be doing anything that you want. Okay. You could be a chef making some of the best idlis in life. Okay. You could be an industrialist like my friend Vivek, producing the most awesome industrial textiles in the country. You could be anybody that you are. You could be a coach like Srini doing some amazing stuff. You could be like Anurag, who's a great chartered accountant. You could be like Lakshmi, who's a phenomenal child. You could be anybody that you are. You could be doing anything that you want. If only we can start listening to the dictates of our heart and not to our mind, then, ladies and gentlemen, we are well and truly on the path of doing our Swadharma. Right? So, Lakshmi, I'd like you to help us understand the first time that Krishna talks about Swadharma in chapter 2, verse 31. Lakshmi, if you can just help me with that. Because that's a great interpretation of Swadharma that Krishna talks to us about.
पितुमर्हसि धर्म्याद्यद्वाचेयोऽन्यत् क्षत्रियस्य न विद्यते. Besides considering your duty as a warrior, you should not waver. Indeed, for a warrior, There is no better engagement than fighting for upholding of righteousness. अपने स्वधर्म जन्म से धारण हुए 3 गुण को देखते हुए हिलना नहीं चाहिए, क्योंकि क्षत्रिय के लिए धर्ममयी लड़ने से क्षयकारी और कुछ नहीं है.
Right? So look at Krishna's interpretation there. What is he saying? He says, look, do what you think is the right thing for you. Okay? When you're on your path of Swadharma, do it from your own ideal of perfection. Okay? Now, when he's talking about the ideal of perfection, what is he trying to tell us? He is giving us the simple message that, look, whatever it is that you need to do it from your own way. And a little later, we'll see another beautiful shloka on which he talks about how it is important for us to do what is the right thing. So, doing what makes me happy without making anybody else unhappy is your Swadharma. Now, let me tell you something very interesting. I was recently hearing another lecture on the Bhagavad Gita, and I must tell you that the commentator was brilliant. She was sharing with us a very interesting anecdote. Okay, like all great anecdotes, take it like that. She said there was this, phenomena. There was this very famous person who came and was talking about, about the Bhagavad Gita in a village, and he was kind of delayed, and things were taking a little time and things like that. At which point of time, there was when he started the lecture, there was a lady who was sitting in the audience, and she heard the first line of the Bhagavad Gita, which all of you are possibly aware, which is Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. Okay, and when she heard this line, she said, well, she got up and she decided to move away. And the guru who was there, or the person who was the interpreter, or the commentator on the Gita, he said, how come? I mean, I've just started. And she said, your first line has told me what is my Swadharma. It says Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre, which means Kshetre Kshetre Dharma Kuru. So whatever is the kshetra that you're in, whatever is the field that you're working in, if there is something that you can do which is your own dharma, then you're doing it right. And that is the whole beauty of the Gita. That right up front, Krishna has told us, Vyasa has told us, what is it that we need to do from our Swadharma's perspective. So, whatever action that you need to do, whatever it is that you want to do in life, must be an action that will spread happiness in the world. Our world today is very deeply divided. Okay? Is deeply divided, is very complex. And in this world, I think it is time for each of us to figure out a way of making sure that your Swadharma can find expression in a way that makes you happy and makes the rest of the world happy. If you can do this, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've got a good way forward. And this is Krishna's message to all of us, saying that, look, you follow your ideal of perfection. And when you follow your ideal of perfection, you are going to be doing the right thing in a righteous manner. And this is the interpretation that Krishna gives to Arjuna, and through Arjuna to all of us, as far as Dharma and Swadharma are concerned. Why would we need to do these things righteously? Okay, what is the importance of doing things in a way that will spread happiness? Now, you all are aware, at some point of time, maybe tomorrow, day after tomorrow, I'll talk to you about the happiness ladder. But let me introduce now to you a concept called the unhappiness ladder. Okay, why are we so deeply unhappy? Why do you see so much of unhappiness around us? And that unhappiness that you see is because somewhere we've strayed away from this whole point of doing the right things righteously, of doing things that are going to make you happy, but making sure that the rest of the world is not unhappy. I think because we've strayed away from this path, that we find ourselves unhappy. You see, for one, maybe once or twice or thrice or 4 times even, you can do things and get away with it. But you can't sustain this process for a long time. This is not a scalable proposition. If you want to continue to do things that are going to make you happy and somebody else unhappy in life, then it is not going to be a sustainable, scalable proposition. And guess what? It is something that will come back to haunt you. It is not about the rest of the world. Remember this. Somewhere one I always believe that the happiest human being on earth is someone who can put his or her head on the pillow and go off to sleep without thinking twice. The happiest person on earth, I believe, is someone who can get up in the morning, look at herself or himself in the mirror and say, I like you. You're a good guy, yeah. Or you're a good person. So let's see, what is the challenge? How does Krishna explain to us about where could we be going wrong, and how do you stray from your path of your Swadharma? So Sandeep, Lakshmi, will you bring up the next two slides, please? This is chapter 2, verse 62 and 63.
Yes.
The next slide, Sandeep. Yeah, thank you so much.
It's chapter 262 now, right, Ram?
Yes, please.
ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः सङ्गस्तेषूपजायते सङ्गात् सञ्जायते कामः कामात् क्रोधो विजायते. While contemplating on the objects of the senses, one develops attachment to them. Attachment leads to desire, and from desire arises anger. इंद्रियों के विषयों में ध्यान बना करने से उनमें लगाव पैदा होता है. लगाव से कामनाएं पैदा होती हैं और उनकी पूर्ति में बाधा होने से गुस्सा आता है.
Right. And can you also go to the second one, 63? Right.
क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशोः बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. Anger leads to clouding of judgment, which results in bewilderment of the memory. When the memory is bewildered, the intellect gets destroyed, and when the intellect is destroyed, one is ruined. गुस्से से भ्रम होता है, भ्रम से याददाश्त भंग होती है, याददाश्त भंग होने से बुद्धि नष्ट हो जाती है, बुद्धि के नष्ट होने से व्यक्ति का नाश हो जाता है.
Wonderful. So look at the beauty of these two slides, 62 and 63. See, the point of the Gita is that you got to keep digging into it to figure out where are these gems lying. Okay, this is an absolute gem. So I told you I'll tell you about the unhappiness ladder. Now, what is this whole concept of the unhappiness ladder? If your Swadharma is to do things that makes you happy while ensuring that people are not unhappy, that others are not unhappy, then where is the unhappiness ladder? Can we actually construct an unhappiness ladder? Why is it that you become unhappy? Okay, so we need to come out of the unhappiness trap. So look at what Krishna is telling us in these two lovely shlokas, 62 and 63 from chapter 2. Okay, if you we live in a deeply comparative world right now. Right from and this is very unfortunate. Right from our childhood we are compared in this world, and you're compared all the time. Somebody is dark, somebody is darker, somebody is fair, somebody is fairer. How does it matter? We are each beautiful individuals. Somebody is tall, somebody is taller, somebody is short, somebody is shorter. And this comparison keeps happening day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out. And this actually has become the bane of our life right now. So in a comparative world where everything becomes comparative, everything that you get, everything that you want, you are evaluating it not from an absolute perspective, but from a relative perspective. So is my car better than your car? Is my house better than your house? And this just goes on and on and on to the extent that we don't enjoy what we have. And this is where we lose track of our entire Swadharma, and we get into a situation where we are deeply unhappy in life. And it is this unhappiness that comes to haunt us in life. So in the Bhagavatam, there is this mention of the 6 gateways to hell. In the Gita, Krishna talks only of the 3, which is kama, krodha, and lobha. But then it gets extended. Okay, so you have kama, krodha, lobha, mada, moha, and then matsarya. Kama, krodha, lobha, we've all heard. Kama is uncontrolled desires. Okay, it is not wrong to have kama, it is not wrong to have desires. Let me get this right. You cannot lead a life which is desireless. Of course, you need to have desires. But when those desires become uncontrolled, when those desires become, are just unleashed, and you say, look, I'm getting into a zone now by which these desires of mine become completely irrational. And the non-fulfillment of those desires leads to anger, krodha. So when you get into that situation that, look, why is it that I am not getting what I want in my life? Why are my desires not getting fulfilled? You get into that anger. Whether it is a very suppressed anger or whether it is an anger that finds expression, whether it is being vented out or not, there is a lot of anger coming because of the fact that somewhere in this comparative world, we are not able to get the desires that we have under control. Nothing wrong with desires. It's the uncontrolled part that's the problem. Keep that in mind. From there, we get into this lobha, which is greed. Anger quickly manifests itself as greed, saying, I am going to acquire this at any cost. I'm going to do whatever is required to be done, but I'm going to get this. And when you get into that area of saying, it doesn't matter whether I'm going to make the world unhappy, whether I'm going to be unhappy, whether my family is going to be unhappy, it doesn't really matter to me because I need to get this, uncontrolled desire of mine getting going. Very clearly, that lobha gets into a situation of mada, which is very, very arrogant. That, look, I've got this, and therefore I'm going to be arrogant about this whole thing. And that arrogance, mada, then gets into moha, which is delusion. And you start believing that you are doing everything right. And from then on, you get into matsarya, which is jealousy. It is these 6 gateways to hell that Krishna is saying you need to be careful about. Why? Very simple. Because, like he says, it is these 6 that lead to a clouding of your mind and your intelligence. Sometimes when the work that we've done, where we've talked to people who've committed some, heinous crimes, and you talk to them and you say that, look, why would you do this? And their answer invariably is that, look, I kind of just lost it at that point of time when I did what I did. So when you get this unhappiness trap starts clouding your mind. And when your mind gets clouded, guess who's the most affected? It is your family and it is you yourself. Nobody else. Because you become unhappy, your family becomes unhappy because of the fact that you got into this unhappiness trap of kama, krodha, lobha, mada, moha, matsarya. And it is this we need to get out of. And how do we get out of that is what Krishna tells us again and again, saying that, look, think about what is your swadharma. Don't get into this business of trying to figure out a way of doing a shortcut in life. Because whenever you take that shortcut in life, you are not going to really get anywhere where you want to go to in your entire life. So when your mind is clouded, you are not able to take those rational good decisions. You're not able to take those logical decisions. You're not listening to your heart, which is where all the things that you need to do are located. And it is this is the fight that all of us have. These are the demons of the mind that we need to get out of completely. So when you focus on that immediate gratification, which has become part and parcel of our life, your swadharma goes for a toss and you start rationalizing, saying that this is perhaps what my swadharma is, that to get acquisitive and to acquire stuff at a pace in which I start creating a lot of unhappiness in life. Okay? So let's take another very interesting definition that Swadharma is all about. And Sandeep and Lakshmi, may I request you to please pull up. We jump chapters now. We go to chapter 3, verse number 35, because again, there is a beautiful interpretation of Swadharma that will help us put all of this into context. And I love these comments that are coming in. Please keep Balaji Rooks. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, Lakshmi, please.
श्रेयान् स्वधर्मो विगुणः परधर्मात् स्वनुष्ठितात् स्वधर्मे निधनं श्रेयः परधर्मो भयावहः. It is far better to perform one's natural prescribed duty, though tinged with faults, than to perform another's prescribed duty, though perfectly. In fact, it is preferable to die in the discharge of one's duty than to follow the path of another, which is fraught with danger. अच्छी तरह से आचरण किए दूसरे के धर्म से गुणहीन लगने वाला अपना स्वधर्म अधिक श्रेष्ठ है. स्वधर्म में तो मरना भी श्रेयकारी है और परधर्म तो भयानक अनुभव ही देगा. Thank you.
Look at the beauty of this. Just keep the slide for a little while, Sandeep, if you don't mind. You know what is he saying? He says, look, we talked about this whole comparative world a little earlier. And this is what he says, that look, it is better to be your own self. Don't try and be somebody else. Don't get dictated by somebody else's concept of what you should be in life. Just imagine if we can start teaching our young children this. That look, it is better to be your own self, your own natural self. Don't try and be somebody else in life. It's not required. You don't have to ape anybody else. Just be your own self. So how do you get out of that unhappiness trap? By reconnecting to who you are, by reconnecting to what you want to do in life. Okay. So thank you, Sandeep. So one of the actions that I'd like to do, in this entire program, one of the things that we'd like to do, and this will be there on the WhatsApp group also, is we'd like you to actually start saying, how do you put this into action? Not just from a philosophy perspective, but I want to also make sure that each one of us is in a position to figure out a way of what kind of action can we do from this, right? So here is what I'd like to recommend to all of you to do, okay? If you can actually sit down and make a list of what do you love to do. Remember, each of us have started, if you're a businessman, if you have an enterprise that you're running that enterprise because you wanted to express yourself through the enterprise, whether it is an industry, whether it is trading, whether it is a service, it doesn't really matter what you're doing in life, okay? But we've done it because that is a way of expressing ourselves. This is a way of bringing to fore our own Swadharma, that this is what we want to do, okay? And this is why, this particular verse is an extremely important verse. When he says, you please live your life according to your diktats. Don't live your life according to what the rest of the world is asking you to do, okay? So please make sure that you run your life the way you want to run your life. You be your own ideal of perfection, okay? So here is what I'd like you to consider doing. If you can actually find out what is it that you love to do in life. Love. Remember, love comes from the heart. What is it that you love about the work that you're doing? What is it that you love about your enterprise? What aspect of your enterprise or your business or your service is something that you love doing? Do you love meeting customers? Do you love, handling challenges? Do you love going out and giving a solution to people? What is it that you love doing? Okay. If you can make a list of that, right, and reconnect to that. Remember, that is why you started this business or enterprise. Of course, the business has to make money. There is no doubt about that. Businesses are started, enterprises are started because we need to make money. There is nothing wrong with that. That is the second part of our Purushartha, Artha. Okay? But when you want to do whatever you need to do, can you start figuring out that, look, let me approach this business or this enterprise of mine from this aspect, that this is what I love to do. This is my Swadharma, to help people, to make them happy. So if we can figure out what are all those activities in the enterprise or business that we are performing, what is it that we absolutely, absolutely love to do? If you can put that down there, and then you're reconnecting to your own self, to your Swadharma. Remember that. Sometimes what happens is that in this hurly-burly of life, you could forget what you're actually meant to do in life. Why did you start this particular business? Why did you start this enterprise? And you will actually realize, a lot of the work that we do in Born to Win is to help people reconnect to that. That why did you start this business in the first place? Even if it is an inherited business, even if it is even if you're a second generation or a third generation entrepreneur, what is it that you love doing? Okay, one of the businesses that we do a lot of work with is again a favorite example of mine, and this is a fantastic service by the name of P. N. Rao and Sons. They are the finest suit makers in Bangalore, and both the young boys, Naveen and Ketan Pishe, are third generation into the business. And when they started expressing what they love doing, they have managed to scale that business into many, many different cities, into multiple outlets from a single outlet that they were in 14, 15, 16 years ago. And this is the whole point. So if you see any business that is scaling up, any business, then you will find out one thing. As entrepreneurs, we are doing what we love doing. That's the important part. Okay. And when you're doing what you love doing, automatically, you are going to be getting into a zone by which you are giving expression to your Swadharma. That's the important part. So, Lakshmi, if this is what we need to do, let's figure out how do we do that. And I'm going to take one of the most difficult stanzas in the Bhagavad Gita that has been, prone to a lot of interesting interpretations over the years. But yes, let's attempt to understand this from our concept of Swadharma and how can we in a VUCA world get some amount of sense. So Sandeep, if you can pull out the chapter 2, verse number 47, which everybody knows this, I think, backwards. But let's take a look at that.
Mihan? कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भूः मा ते सङ्गोत्स्वकर्मणि. You have the right to perform your prescribed duties, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your actions. Never consider yourself to be the cause of the results of your activities, nor be attached to inaction. कर्म करना ही तेरे बस में है, उसका फल कभी नहीं. ना तो कर्म फल का कारण बन और ना ही कर्म न करने से लगाव रख. Thank you.
Fantastic. So, Sandeep, can you keep this slide and also bring me up? So here, this is I'm sure all of you will agree. This particular verse from the Gita has been kind of quoted, understood, misunderstood, interpreted in so many different ways. And the most interesting interpretation that I've heard is that this particular verse tells you that you must be goalless in life, that you must do nothing in life. Unfortunately, the last part of the verse, which is the most interesting part. If you read the Gita, there are these two lines each, and in those two lines there are actually two parts of each. The last part of the second line becomes so very important and critical. That is, you cannot be attached to inaction. You cannot be attached to inaction. So this whole business that, look, this is telling me to be goalless, this is telling me not to do stuff, is wrong. So let's attempt this from our concept of Swadharma, and then we'll get into some questions and answers after this. First of all, what is he saying? That when you're performing your Swadharma and your action, and you're living your life according to your own ideal of perfection, which is your Swadharma, of doing the right things righteously, of doing what makes you happy while making the rest of the world happy, what is it that you need to do? And here is an action point again. Like I said, list down the things that you love to do in your business or in your enterprise, which is why you started that business, which is why you started that enterprise. Put that down. Let's reconnect with what makes us tick. Let's reconnect with what made me leave a very comfortable job or what made me join my family enterprise. Let's reconnect to that. That's the first part. And then let's look at this as another action point. Krishna's whole point, according to me, is very simple. When you're performing your task, okay, yes, there is a final outcome that you need to reach to. Let us say if I want to drive from Bangalore to Bombay, then obviously I need to get into my car and I need to make sure that I drive on the right path in the right way so that I can get to Mumbai within whatever time. Now, if all the time I'm concerned about Mumbai, will I then take my eyes off the road here? And if I do, that could lead to disastrous consequences. So the whole point is this, that I want to make this fine distinction here. There is a final result that will happen whenever you do activities according to your Swadharma. But more important than those results is an outcome that will happen as a result of your action right now. So, whatever action you take right now, there will be an outcome of that. You focus on the action and the immediate outcome of the action. Don't be worried about the final result. So, this is the distinction. If you're working on a presentation right now, if you're working on creating a brochure for your company or for your business, if you're working on a sales plan, whatever it is that you're working on right now, if you're a student and you're saying, okay, I'm going to study this and therefore I'm going to get into this particular course, or I'm going to I'm going to score these marks, or I'm going to pass this exam, whatever it is that you want to do in your life, at this point of time, can you do what you love from a perspective of making sure that you do what you want to do in a beautiful way here? You focus your entire attention on this and figure out, don't worry about the result. Yes, there is an exam if you're a student that you need to pass. That is the way the system is. Fair enough. Yes, there is a check that you need to collect when you supply your goods and services to someone. That is how the system is. There's no doubt about that. That's the result that you want. You want your turnover to grow. Of course, you need your turnover to grow. So if you're in the business of sales, then obviously you need to figure out a way of increasing your sales at the end of the year, because that is how you're going to be measured. That's how you're going to be able to distribute the wealth that you can make. So the fact that you do have that is a given. But if you put unnecessary stress on yourself by getting into that kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya regime, then your actions right now can get into a zone of not being very true, of not being very good. That is the danger that we need to be careful about. So this particular stanza is beautiful because he says, look, you have the right to your actions. Don't worry about the results. The fruits will happen. The fruits will come. Don't bother about it. But can you start looking at your Swadharma? And can you give expression to your Swadharma in such a way that the actions that you perform right now are actions that will make you happy and make the rest of the world happy? And the last point of the stanza, don't get into inaction. That means you have no right not to perform your action. And this is the whole point, that when you're doing your Swadharma, in this entire VUCA world that we're finding ourselves in right now, and the interesting part of today is that all of us are in a similar mess. Unlike earlier, when the mess that you found yourself in was very selective. But today, unfortunately, all of us are finding ourselves in a similar mess in life. And here is the message, that if you can do the right things in a righteous manner, if you can do things that you love, and today, as an action point, if we can just do these two things. Number one, rediscover what I love doing in my enterprise. Why did I start this enterprise? Of course, to make money, 100%. But what do I love doing in this business? Figure that out. And two, try and make sure that you become so outcome focused that the results will happen. Have faith in yourself. The results will come. Like, last year, when Neeraj Chopra, that's again a fantastic example that I can share with you. When Neeraj Chopra actually came and did his second throw, he was so action focused. His outcome at that point of time was to run up and come and throw his javelin. And if you guys have watched that clip, he doesn't even look back to see how much he threw because he knew through his action that he had done a great job. And he didn't even look back to figure out, okay, whether, what is the distance did he throw? Did he, mind you, his first throw itself was a great throw. And he was leading the pack. And the second throw completely broke all the records and got him the Olympic gold medal. Now, that's the difference, ladies and gentlemen, that stanza 47 teaches us, okay, of chapter 2, that look, there is going to be a result, 100%. You will get the result. But when you're working on your Swadharma, please make sure that you work on it in such a way that you will get so action focused that you will enjoy the action that you do, that you will be happy doing what you do. And in the process, you'll make the rest of your world happy. So with that, let me conclude the talk. And Lakshmi, love to get into a interaction on this. If there are any questions, any observations,
Yes.
Sandeep, in case you have any thoughts, any questions, Lakshmi, I'm sure that you will have
Yes,
your own.
I do. And before I come to my question, there's one question from Balaji who's watching us live. He's
Okay.
asking how to overcome the challenges that we come across while doing our Swadharma, while doing actions based on our Swadharma.
Balaji, fantastic Balaji Manu, my old friend. Well, very good point, Balaji. See, the point is that when you're, will there be challenges? 100%, Balaji. And the reason why, I'll tell you. Only a person who walks, Balaji, will fall. A stationary person will never fall. Unless you fall out of your chair or fall out of your bed, which is possible, or somebody pushes you out of your chair or your bed. So only a guy who walks, there is a chance of falling. Now, falling is not failure. You see, this is another interpretation that we've got stuck with in life. That if you fall, then you're a failure. You're not. When you fall and you choose to remain there, then you become a failure. But when you fall and get up and walk again, then you're back on the path of your Swadharma. And you will hit the result that you want. So when these challenges come across, in your way, when you're performing your Swadharma, it's a good time for you to take stock and reconnect. You see, I keep telling people all the time, just keep reconnecting with why are you doing what you're doing? What is it that you love doing? And believe me, you will then find answers on how to overcome these challenges. Right? That's the important part. That look, will there be challenges? 100%. Okay. And sometime back, somebody was telling me, look, I hope you have enough and more of challenges to engage you in life so that you will be able to find answers and overcome them. Lakshmi?
So thank you. Shall I continue?
Yes, please.
Yes. I have a few questions. See, you said whatever you need to do it your own way, doing what makes you happy without making another unhappy, right? There is the existence of polarity. When there is happiness for someone, there is always an unhappiness for someone else, or it's always exist. They coexist, right? So how do we how do we practice Swadharma in these situations? Because there is an unhappiness part for someone that we have to consider, isn't it so?
Well, yeah, sure. Now, let's go back to one example. Okay, and I love quoting local enterprises that are doing extremely well in life. Okay, forget the giant enterprises. I'm from Bangalore and you're from Bangalore, Lakshmi. Bangalore is a very interesting city. We make some of the finest dosas. I mean, my friends who are watching this from Chennai will not agree with me, and my friends from Bombay will also not agree with me, but that's all right. Okay. But every locality in Bangalore has its own favorite dosa shop. So if you come to Baswangudi, then I'll tell you, boss, Vidyarthi Bhavan is the dosa here. I mean, there is no other dosa like Vidyarthi Bhavan. If you go into central Bangalore, people will say, sorry, Janardhan is the best dosa. If you go towards Malleshwaram, people will say, boss, CTR. I mean, come on, don't even talk of anything, etc., etc., etc. Right? You go to Jayanagar, they'll say dosa kya. Look at each of these guys. How is it that these enterprises are sustaining themselves? Okay. Now, the reason is that the chef who's making the dosa has changed over the years. These are 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old establishments. But the chef who's making that dosa, or the guy who's making the idli in Brahmins or, Veena stores or wherever it is, each of this is doing it from a Swadharma perspective. That I am going to give the best of my output. Okay. And in the process of giving the best of my output, can I do it in a way by which I am going to spread happiness? Full stop. Okay. If we can make that a part of our life, then I think we've done what we need to do. Okay. The point is that the minute we start taking those shortcuts in life and we get too result focused, then we are not performing those daily actions that need to be done. Again, from a sales perspective, for instance, a lot of times when I work with sales organizations, I keep telling them, I said, don't worry about the big break. Don't worry about the big sale that you will get. If you do, that's a bonus, yeah. But do your daily tasks, perform your daily sales, go out there into the market, finish your daily sale on a daily basis. And then, well, there will be a day when you'll crack a big deal. But just in the anticipation of that big deal, don't ignore these small deals that go up to add to the big deal. Right? Likewise, Lakshmi, the whole idea is this. Will you find people who are unhappy when you're doing what you're doing? Of course you will. But then you stick to what you want to do, no? Which is doing what makes you happy. Right? Don't worry about these unhappy people what to do. Maybe we should curate a program for them, Lakshmi.
Okay. Srini Araswatula has a question. The
Please.
dilemma that he sees: entrepreneurs face doubt-led inaction or arrogance attached to action while they are sharply focused on their goal. Their focus on outcome clouds judgment, leading to a lot of heartburn for those who are walking along with them. Your advice, please.
Absolutely, Srini. I think this is the phenomenal question. This is Srini, who's a great coach from Bombay. Uh, Absolutely, Srini. You see, where does this doubt come into your mind? Either this inaction or arrogance that you talk about. When you start moving away as an entrepreneur from your reason to be, okay, like in the earlier avatar of mine, which was advertising, we used to talk, what is the reason to be for this particular brand? Likewise, as an individual, what is your reason to be? When you move away from that reason to be, Srini, all these confusions start coming in. Okay, when you get away from that reason to be, this focus is gone, all your judgments are clouded and stuff like that. So if you're working with entrepreneurs, Srini, I think one of the things that we need to do in our coaching or mentoring or facilitation or training or whatever it is this. Let's get back to the basics. Let's get back to what is really, really important to us as an enterprise. So can this whole concept of Swadharma be be taken to a level of an enterprise? Of course it can. It's not just an individual. It is even at the level of an enterprise. If you can take this whole concept of Swadharma, that is, what do we love doing as an enterprise? What do each of us love doing as an enterprise? Then you're going to be able to get that doing. So if you're walking the path with someone who unfortunately is straying from the path of the individual Swadharma or the corporate Swadharma, okay, or the enterprise's Swadharma, then you will really find it very difficult at that point of time to walk along with them. My advice is that, like Krishna tells Arjuna very clearly, okay, he tells him clearly that, look, your Swadharma, if you remember one of the verses that we quoted, is to stand and fight for the ideal of perfection. You have to. Because if somebody is not walking the path with you the way we agreed to walk, then I think it's important for us to stand there, take a stance and say, well, this is what we agreed to. Why are we straying from this path right now? Okay? I think that's an important thing that we need to remember and do. Okay? Because you can't have this situation, Srini, for a long time of someone continuing to spread unhappiness and getting away with it. Right? And that's the message that he gives us, and that's the message I think that we need to look at, that sometimes, we just have to take that stance and say, I'm sorry, but I will not allow you to spoil my state of mind. Lakshmi?
Yep. There's just one question. One of the questions that I have, you said, you explained beautifully that kshetre dharma karo. Whichever field you're in, do the action that you need to do. See, let's say a hypothetical situation where I am in a field where I have to win, probably on a family compulsion or something, and I see that somebody is using a wrong strategy. What should I do? Winning is so important for me in that because it's probably, saving someone a life, a family or something. And I see that to win, someone is adopting a wrong strategy. And if I did that, I would win. So what should I do?
First of all, Lakshmi, two points. One point of caution, and this is not to everybody. This is a dilemma that a lot of people face. Is this your fight? Okay, is a very, very, very important question to answer.
Right.
Okay, because there are so many, fight. I'm using the word fight very loosely here, but there are so many of these challenges that we are confronted with in our resident welfare association, within our clubs, within this, within that, within this, within that, so many places, right? For family, the first decision is that, look, is this a fight that you'd like to get involved with? Is it important? Okay, if it is, then I think you need to stand up and fight. If it is not your fight, then just walk away because it doesn't really matter to you. Okay, because see, there's no point in becoming a Don Quixote, going and fighting with every windmill that comes in your way. Okay, that's a complete waste of energy, right? And then you're just making yourself more unhappy in life.
Right.
Venkatesh Srinivasan has some interesting question. Lakshmi, will you just pull that out?
Just a sec. Yeah. Can we say that inaction also includes superficial take on duties, hovering around one's comfort zone, and boycotting in-depth thinking, saying that it is greed, etc.?
Absolutely, Venkatesh. You hit the nail on the head, my friend. You're completely right. You see, the whole point is that I think we're going to be doing action, the kind of action in the third or the fourth session that we're going to be doing today. But since you asked this question, let me clarify on this point. There are really these four types of action. Inaction, reaction, inaction, action, significant action, and significant action without any expectations. Okay, inaction, inefficient action. So what you're actually talking about is not inaction but inefficient action, Srinivas. Okay, Venkatesh, because when you do inefficient action, then you make the whole world unhappy. Okay. I'll give you an example of what I'm saying. This comfort zone that you talked about. Now, supposing, for instance, you have a sales guy and his job is to go and get the money from the customer. Okay. And he comes back to you and says, sir, he's not picking up my phone. Now, that is inefficient action, because the point is, the action that I want from you is not to make the call. The action that I want from you is to go get the money. So when people get into their comfort zones, they actually do more inefficient action, and they create more damage for themselves and the enterprise by giving all these, superficial answers. And then sometimes hiding, you used the word greed, but hiding, behind some lofty concept, saying, sir, he's an old customer. What if the customer gets upset? Why would the customer get upset in the first place? Right? Because it's your money. You performed that, product, you've given that product or you've given that service, and you're entitled to that money. Okay. So inefficient action actually kills us. Right? And people hide it, as you say, under these superficial, labels, saying, this is too much of greed, this is too much of this. No way. I think you hit it on the head, Venkatesh. Thanks for that question. Great question.
There's another question from Balaji, which is:
Please.
Is gratification important?
Is gratification important? Yes, sir, Balaji. Why not? The challenge is, when we get into this instant gratification business, that's where the challenge actually happens, Balaji. Okay, when we get into this whole business of instant gratification, okay, that I'm doing something now and I want a result immediately, it won't happen, no? Then you're not outcome focused. So gratification is important. It will happen when it happens. But for the instant gratification, we can't compromise on the quality of the action that we're going to be performing. That's the important part, right? My friend Reshma from Bombay, wow. Everyone has a viewpoint and everyone feels their viewpoint is right. Absolutely, Reshma, that is life, So how do you handle this conflict between people, So the point is very simple, Reshma, that I have a viewpoint and this is what I think is right for me to do, is what makes me happy. Well, I believe nobody else in the world is unhappy. And you have your own view that this is what makes me happy. And you believe also that nobody in the world is becoming unhappy. And if there is a clash between these two views, Reshma, I respect yours. My only request to you, please respect mine. Okay. So the point is this, that we need to get to a situation where we start respecting each other viewpoint. There's a very famous statement, I think by Gokhale, in which he says, that look, while I disagree with you, but I respect the fact that you have this view. I respect that. I disagree with your viewpoint. Nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
Shailesh.
We have another question from Sailesh. In the process, is it okay to disagree or hurt the closest, or is there a way out?
So, Shailesh, the point is that, when there is a disagreement, what is the disagreement about is very, very important. Okay? When there is a disagreement between, I'm just putting you and me as an example, Shailesh, because you're an old friend and dear friend. Supposing there is a disagreement between you and me, Shailesh, on a particular issue. Okay? If we agree to disagree, life is okay. But if I insist that this is the way it has to be done, or if you insist that this is the only way it has to be done, then obviously one of us is going to get hurt in the process. Okay? So my take on this is this, that look, let us agree to disagree. You have a viewpoint, I have a viewpoint. Let's park these viewpoints aside and just move on in life. Because otherwise, you will not really move forward on your Swadharma and get the answers that you need to get to. Always remember that. Okay? So it's important that I have a viewpoint. Fantastic. You have a viewpoint. Fabulous. Let's respect it and move. The hurt comes when I insist you have to follow my viewpoint, or you insist that you have to follow my viewpoint. And that is where the challenge lies. Even in organizations, Shailesh, even in enterprises, sometimes there is a disagreement. There is a point of view which is, not uh, not the same, and it's perfectly all right. Okay, I read that Intel had a great theory, Shailesh. They would all lock themselves up in a room, and not only Intel. I mean, the company that I used to work for, we all would lock ourselves up in a room and fight. Fight, pitch battle. But once a decision was taken that this is it, then everybody was committed to that particular decision. Okay, that's the way forward, Shailesh.
Well, as we come to a close, do we request them to share their questions to your email, Ram? I'll
Please,
just
please,
put it
please,
up.
please.
So now, people have
For
to.
all those,
Monday
Lakshmi, who
morning.
have registered,
Yes. Right.
all those who
Yeah.
have registered, we are on a WhatsApp group. Anybody who's
Yes.
watching here who's not on the WhatsApp group, please reach out to us and we'd love to.
Yes, definitely. The WhatsApp group will be open in the evening between a couple of us, so then we can probably discuss more discussions we can have on this topic. So as we draw to a close, thank you very much, Rotarian Ramkumar Seshu. I mean, it's so power laden, the kind of shlokas that you had chosen to explain, and it's in such short time, 45 minutes, but there was so much clarity, how you explained everything. The practice of dharma, how you explained the artha, kama, and moksha as a part of the dharma of what you do, and action, very beautifully explained. So to sum it up, it's the things that comes from your heart. Do the things that come from your heart, and do the right thing righteously, right? And better to live your life rather than someone else's. I think these are the daily, we can very easily practice all that is said. How you have brought it down. You're like a step down transformer, like, what is there in the Gita. I think you have brought it down to common people like me, who can just apply it. Thank you very much for this wonderful, wonderful beginning. I would say this is a beginning that we are making in this new year. There's more to go in this way, but let's definitely try and practice. We'll start doing a little, small, like ripples. Let's start practicing in our life. Is what I feel. You have anything to say?
Thank you very much. I see my one of the people who I consider as a mentor, Ram Bhatt, saying that he's just logged in. And Ram, this will be available on the Facebook page. All that you need to do is to just go and refresh it, and you can see the whole thing, Ram. That will be an honor for me. Tomorrow we've got another very interesting session, which is on overcoming your past conditioning challenges. Okay, just to let you in on a thought. Arjuna was the finest warrior of his time. There was nobody more accomplished than him. And yet, at the beginning of the war, he puts his bow down and says, I will not fight. Now, this is conditioning. Okay? How are you going to overcome the conditioning challenges that you have is going to be a huge issue. And therefore, tomorrow is going to be another very, very interesting session where Krishna dispels a lot of Arjuna's thoughts on how do you overcome your past conditioning challenges. So today, as Lakshmi mentioned, there is this WhatsApp group that we've created. If any of you who are watching this, either on LinkedIn or Facebook, are not part of the WhatsApp group, please just send us a message on that, and we'll try and see how we can include you there on the WhatsApp group. Number one. Number two, to spend a little time today thinking of yourself, and if you'd like to share, then in the WhatsApp group you can type it out, because we're trying to build a community where all of us kind of help each other, and I'm sure that so many of you are far more well-read and have far better insights than me, Lakshmi, Sandeep, or Sharda have, and we'd love to hear from you. So please do share. Please do spend some time and say, this is what I love about what I'm doing in life, and how do I reconnect to that, and how can I take these decisive steps to become more outcome oriented and believe that the results will happen. Thank you very much. With that, Om Tat Sat. Let's conclude.
Thank you. Thank you.